Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Jane Eyre is a character who undergoes many changes throughout the book. Her upbringing contributes to her views and relationships with people. At the beginning of the book, Jane Eyre is introduced as the main character. After Jane's parents died, Jane's uncle took her in as one of his children. However, when he passed away, Jane undertook the care of her aunt and was neglected and bullied by her aunt and her cousins. They claimed her to be a lowly orphan. The relationship between Jane and her so-called family is one full of abuse. This image of a blossom flower represents Jane. However, the rain comes to signify that although she was strong-willed, she encountered many difficulties growing up. Within the next few months, Jane's life does not get any easier. Her apprehension of her so-called family only deepens when she finds out the truth about her parents, who were unrecognized by her grandfather after their marriage. Jane can never stop fearing for her life, for she doesn't know when she would next be locked in the room where her uncle died. This image of a lonely flower that grows along the rocky pathway signifies that Jane is constantly prone to danger. Any passerby or vehicle can end the flower's life easily. However, the fact that the flower continues to thrive shows that Jane is strong. After a few more months of torment from her family, Jane finds out that she might be able to get away from them. She was told that she was to be sent to a girls' school. However, during her meeting with Mr. Brocklehurst, she leaves him a bad first impression. To make matters worse, Jane's aunt tells Mr. Brocklehurst that Jane is a liar. All these biased impressions of Jane makes her upset and hurt. She seems apprehensive of her aunt and the rest of the family, along with the future that she is about to step foot into. This picture of a flower shows that she is almost near her limit. It represents that Jane is starting to give up on her life because the bad just keeps on building up. However, she is able to meet new friends at her new school. Miss Temple, one of Jane's new teachers, also offers this new sense of hope. Although Jane was struggling, she seems to have fit in well at her new school. She still endures hardship occasionally, however, she has found friends who are able to support her in life. The ray of sunlight shining through her onto the flower represents this profound hope in Jane's new life. But unfortunately for her, Jane has to witness her friend's death. This image of flowers growing amidst the rocks represents Jane's growth over her years at the new school. The relationships she's established with her friends and Miss Temple enabled growth within Jane. It was able to provide her with the confidence to move on to the next part of her life, thereby accepting an offer as a governess. Jane was able to meet Mr. Rochester, the owner of Thornfield where she worked at. Through their many encounters, love was starting to arise between the two. The beautifully grown flowers represent the love that was shared between Jane and Mr. Rochester. Jane finally slept a success in her life, or so it seemed. At Thornfield, Jane was introduced to the seamstress named Grace Poole. A sense of uncertainty arises when Jane had to save Rochester's life after Grace had set fire to his room. However, she questions why Rochester did not want her to mention the incident. Grace seemed to have forgotten about the incident that happened the night before, and the servants were nonchalant about finding out the truth. Jane also doubts her relationship with Rochester when the servants inform her that he was to accompany another woman at another event. This uncertainty is represented through the colors of this image. The gray and brown signifies that Jane's life might not be full of color anymore as she starts to question the environment she's in and the people around her and who she was supposed to trust. The next picture is of acacia, which in flower language represents secret love. The love between Rochester and Jane should have been kept a secret, but once it was revealed at their wedding, their love was almost supposed to end. Rochester had failed to mention that he was still wedded to another woman named Bertha, although she was crazy. Jane is once again left to deal with unfortunate events in her life. After the truth is revealed, Jane decides that it is best for her to depart. She's torn up inside as she still loves Rochester, however, she had enough confidence in her to walk away. This shriveled up flower shows how Jane must have felt inside. Although she was feeling an immense amount of pain, her decision to walk away was to be well respected. All in all, however, love that is meant to be will happen. After spending months with whom she later finds out is her distant family, Jane realizes that her love for Rochester still exists. When she returns, she finds Rochester blind and without a hand, but her love is so great that she decides to stay and marry him. This image of a red, blossoming flower represents the happily ever after life that Rochester and Jane shares after their marriage. So maybe Jane had to undergo many obstacles before she was able to live her happily ever after life, but fate was able to unite her with her true love. At the beginning, Jane was definitely very vulnerable. She did not get the support that every child needed when growing up. However, every incident that occurred in her life was able to make her a stronger person. In the end, choosing to go back to Rochester over leaving with St. John showed that she was able to make decisions based on what was best for her. She finally did not need to latch onto something or someone else, and instead was strong enough to allow others to fall onto her and to be the support and anchor in another person's life.